Vader time. He was great.
God rest his soul. It's a big soul.
That's a big soul.
That's a nasty bitch.
Oh, she a bad bitch.
You got that Vader dong, you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
I mean, you do.
I never. I mean, you searched all the Vader porn and all that.
I'm sure there's. Nah, he probably wasn't into that.
Huh?
He said he probably wasn't into that.
Who wasn't into that?
No, like him recording himself.
Oh, doing.
I'm sure, like when he was about to slay, he was like, "It's Vader time."
It's Vader time. Yeah.
That's probably where it came from, and he like brought it up to Vince. He's like, "Ha, you love it, because it's you're fucking." That's exactly how.
Yeah, fucking.
It's like, all right, Vince. God damn, that's a meaty bastard.
He bounced around, right? He went to the WCW.
Oh yeah, he throttled back and forth.
Throttled.
Well, it really wasn't back and forth. I mean, he was in WCW, and then he went to WWF, and then he had the feud with Shawn Michaels, and then he attacked Gorilla Monsoon. I remember watching that. He like attacked Gorilla Monsoon.
Like seriously, like
it looked. I remember watching. I was like, I couldn't tell if it was like real or not. He like literally.
That's
like,
when wrestling is at its best.
It was That was when like Gorilla Monsoon. He wasn't obviously he wasn't wrestling. He was just like the commissioner or whatever.
Right.
And he just like snapped.
I remember when he was announcing.
Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey Jesse.
That's capacity crowd of 71,000. They're here in Hartford, Connecticut. Survivor Series.
Well, you know something, Gorilla.
Well, let me tell you, Hulk Hogan better be on his toes tonight.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me?
Let me tell you, when Tito gets in there and meets Rick, it's gonna be on. We don't know how he's gonna react. It's gonna be an explosion, Gorilla.
I don't know, Jesse.
Jesse with the earring and the bandana.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
Good times.
Welcome in to my body shop. We knew it was going to be, if it wasn't going to be you, it was going to be me. I am so proud of you here, brother. I'm so proud of you. Or when when Macho knocked off the dragon.
Ricky?
Yeah, I don't remember it. I just remember seeing you showed me the video.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
All right. Welcome to the Higher Energy Superpower. This is episode 14 of the Turbo Duo Cast. I am your host, Salvatore Mata, and to my left is my brother from another game show lover, Trenton E. Wright III.
Yeah! Smooth opinion!
Right off the bat, we have to just apologize to the audience.
Off the bat, huh?
Right on the bat? Off the bat?
It's always been off the bat.
Off the bat. What did I say?
No, you did.
Off the bat.
You know.
It's been a few months since we've been able to actually get in the studio.
Allegedly.
Put it together. And so we'll hopefully be bringing you guys more consistent retro coverage here. But thanks for holding on with us. And we've got some good stuff in store.
So hold on loosely and don't let it go.
That's perfect. I missed that. We missed those Trenton mouthings.
Pause?
Maybe. We're excited for an episode today. We're going to be talking about Paperboy and Paperboy 2.
Ooh.
Classic series, classic titles. And
you
then
can say forgotten.
Definitely forgotten. I mean, you don't hear much talk at all about Paperboy anymore.
It's not like they tried to revive it.
No. And the last
the Paperboy, it's a lost art.
I've got a couple of things that we're going to mention about being a Paperboy later on, foreshadowing. But just so that you guys know, so we're going to be talking about Paperboy today, and then our next episode, I don't know if I told you this, but...
no, you didn't. This is all news to me.
We're...
breaking.
So...
Eyewitness news.
We're going to talk about a game that we've talked about in the past, but not on its own episode. We're going to talk about, I think, Doom next podcast.
Welcome to your Doom.
Doom and Doom 64 I'd like to do as our next podcast.
Wow, now that's a pod.
Yes. I'm sure you'd approve of that. Of doing.
Yes.
I mean, I know it's the first you're hearing of it, so you can veto it. You can veto it if you want.
We're not doing it. Hey, you won't know until the next podcast comes out anyway, so right?
Just to give you a little taste of what might be coming up. So
ooh, a little licking, they would say.
So now all the way back in December, we recorded our Final Fight 2 and 3 episode.
Oh
If
yeah,
you remember that? That was our last episode.
that seems like a lifetime ago.
Really does. A lot's happened. We're in Corona.
Whoa. I think you're too close.
Are we too close? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're family, so
it's
it's
like
not
next, you know. I
Yeah.
wonder if you could tell I'm hard right now. Baby, when we're grinding.
Was it you or she? I wonder if she could tell.
Yeah.
You said, I wonder if you can tell.
Well, because you're not unless you identify as a she.
Oh, right.
I was trying to help you out.
For this
Context, my
this
friend.
podcast, I identify as a woman.
Come on, bro. Or you can go like Samus, gender neutral, you know?
Samus.
You know?
Aaron?
Yeah, but you know, most people don't know. They just assume.
Got to know your 8-bit history, man. Got to know your 8-bit history. That was one of the games I remember when we were back on Parsonage Street in Rocky Hill. I remember all the kids from the neighborhood playing that.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Mm-hmm. Don't know what that means, but let's just move on into show notes. We're actually going to do show notes from last podcast.
Wow. That's why even bother.
I know. Well, listen, if somebody's binge watching this, they probably are, you know.
No. They're watching other things. they're not binge watching the Turbo Duo cast.
Listen, they should be.
God damn it. It's good content.
I was trying to find white men can't jump sayings, and I couldn't find them. And I looked seriously for all of like 5 minutes, and I couldn't.
I watched one video, a playthrough.
I really wanted to bring on some white men can't jump because we talked about the bebop time pants.
Now that I think about it, I feel like they just put that in like the article, and it's not really in the game.
We're gonna have to
because I actually
we're gonna have to buy a whole Jaguar, and white men can't jump.
A whole Jaguar, not a half a Jaguar.
What a dumpster trash.
Which would only be 32 bits.
By the way,
still,
even though it's 2020, the hate for the Atari Jaguar doesn't stop. It's still a pile of dog shit.
is real.
Anyway, so I couldn't find really any white men can't jump sayings, but we did talk about white men can't jump last time.
I guarantee we talk about white men can't jump more than any other podcast, and that's the one reason why people need to listen.
Mm-hmm.
To get all your hot white men can't jump references.
That reminds me when you pause there. It reminds me of the T-shirt that I made in high school that said
"Oh, I love Rod."
I love Rod, and on the back it said Stewart.
Yeah.
Nobody ever like got me on that. Like no teachers ever stopped me. They never.
Well, you know that was a different. You could literally just wear like a shirt with a dong on it.
It was 2000.
They'd just be like, whatever.
Yeah, but you know what? Frankie Burnett back in middle school wore a shirt that had a bunch of tennis balls on it, and it just said "balls" with an exclamation mark. And they made him wear it inside out.
Oh, well, they got to draw the line somewhere. Too many balls.
They were just bouncing balls, you know.
Yeah,
It didn't hurt nobody.
You know that was like the Make 7 up yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when we did our system launch tournament last time, we talked about.
Oh yeah, baby! It's been so long. I've been waiting in the basement just for this bracket to come back out again. We got no basketball.
There's no basketball right now, so you might as well have a system launch tournament. We can do that straight from our studio here.
Yeah, Las Vegas is taking bets on it right now. Actually,
they're waiting. I would think so.
They're waiting. They're just They're just standing in front of the screens with the tickets up.
Why won't they record another podcast? We need this information. We were talking about the 7800, the Atari 7800, and the Master System.
The only podcast talking about the 7800.
Yeah. And I kept thinking about it, which is I'm giving it way more credit than I should.
Kept thinking about the 7800.
So the 7800, we agreed won that tournament bracket portion. So the 7800 moves on. But as I was thinking about it, I think the trouble that I was having getting over the hump with it was the Sega Master System. To me, is the system I'd rather go back to for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it's more accessible. Right, it's very easy to find.
Collect for.
Yeah. But the
you
games
can find 11 copies of Great Baseball in any store right now.
Sure.
You can go to Target and find them.
Probably they got them in the clearance bins.
I think they have them in Victoria's Secret too.
They come with a free 5-pack of panties.
Yeah.
But I feel like the games, like those launch games, had gameplay that I could go back to and play right now and still have a good time with. The controller's better.
But are you thinking of just the launch games, or are you just thinking of the Master System as a whole? You'd like to go back and play. And that's the difference.
No, if we were talking about the whole library, obviously.
No, what I'm saying, when you go back and think about it, are you thinking of just the launch titles? When you're saying it's more accessible and you'd rather go back and play
it's definitely more accessible, right? I mean, the controller alone is a big factor, right? I mean, who wants to use that
fucked up joystick?
Yeah, I mean, that thing's terrible. So it makes every game easier to go back to when you have a Nintendo style controller than that Atari pad.
Outdated joystick.
Yeah. I mean, but like we talked about, like Xevious, Galaga, Pole Position for Atari 7800, those were like incredibly influential games, and that couldn't be understated. So in the passage of time, the 7800's initial library was really, really important to what came afterwards. So that is a huge aspect of it, and the gameplay is still good. Like if you haven't crushed your hand already and you're playing it for the first time in the night, you can play and have fun with Galaga or any one of those games. But after
Galaga
after 2 rounds, you're like, okay, I can't do it anymore. My thumb's gonna fall off.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know. Well, whatever. I mean, we kind of we went through it.
We don't need to do it again.
Already.
But I rested in peace with that whole discussion. The 7800 had the better launch.
Yeah, we have. If you go on our YouTube, we actually have the clip where we're talking about just the first part of the bracket on our YouTube page. If you want to hear it, I don't know. It's like 20 minutes or something like that.
It's too bad Dogs versus Shinobi wasn't a launch game for the Super or the Sega Master System, because that would have set it over the top.
Oh, definitely. It's a dog dressed as Shinobi taking out the bad guys.
Well, I mean, they did Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, right? So why not?
Right.
Final Fight 2 and 3, just to sum it up again, those games have absolutely no soul. Again, a case in point is we played, after we played that and, had our whole, Christmas, I think, was after that.
Yep.
And one of the games that we got for Christmas was
The Punisher.
Was the Punisher, and the Punisher just oozes style. Like, it just oozes style.
Machismo.
I think that Final Fight 2 and 3 were more refined in the way that, like, they have better hit detection, maybe, than, let's say, like a Punisher, but it's so drab and so lifeless that the boring palette swap bosses and boring play, and the Punisher, even though maybe the hit detection wasn't as tight, the gameplay was just had so much character and
it's like different, just different from all
fast paced.
Yeah, there was a few different being able to use like the guns and stuff like that makes it like
and then like
kind of different, and just the graphical style is kind of dark, like the comic book style kind of. Yeah. Well, obviously because it's Punisher. I was like afraid to play that game at first. I was like, God, I hope this doesn't suck.
just because of like what it goes
talking
for,
talking about it for like 2 years, and I was like, oh God, I
like building it up.
Yeah.
But like when you shoot the guns and like the gun flashes on the character, like they put a lot of care into that. Like they wanted it to be good.
I mean, we played through it like a couple times too. It didn't it didn't get boring, because I think we still have to play it on hard mode.
We played it on hard, because when we played it on normal, it was like.
But then it was like, you have to beat it on hard to fully beat it.
Yeah, and we got to the last boss.
Yeah,
and I thought we played it pretty close to like we played it well, but we still didn't win.
Yeah, the game. The game's not too short. It's not too long.
It's a perfect.
Solid.
It's a perfect.
It's like an hour and a half maybe or something like that.
I mean that's one that if you guys can emulate it. I mean, I don't know if I'd go out and spend $200. We're so like dedicated to beat 'em ups that we kind of want as many of them.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure it's easy just to get an emulation. I think even the
I'm sure you can mod a Genesis Classic or something like that.
I feel like even the repros are like you spend $50 for.
Is it really that much for a repro?
I don't know. I'm just throwing that number out.
Well, I bought a Musha repro for like $30.
Musha, was that on
the shooter, the Genesis?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I actually got it at a flea market. So in another game, another talk about beat 'em ups. Another one that we got to play over the holiday was Streets of Rage 3, because I hadn't spent a whole lot of time with it. As crazy as that sounds, I was kind of nervous to play Streets of Rage 3, like you had said with Punisher, because
wait, what? You played Streets of Rage 3 plenty of times. No?
I played it when I was a kid a couple of times, but I never really spent a lot of time with it. I played it over my buddy Matt's house, but we really never went. Streets of Rage 2 was always the game that we were.
You hadn't played it since you got it at the Retro Expo?
No, I gotta admit, I kind of was like nervous.
Was that long ago? Were you replaying it that morning? Wow.
Yeah.
Was that long? Jeez.
Yeah, but to me, like Streets of Rage 3 is night and day between Final Fight 3 and Streets of Rage 3. I mean, Streets of Rage 3, I think if Streets of Rage 2 is like the bar, or like the
bar.
Yeah. If Streets of Rage 2 is the one that people go back to, like Streets of Rage 3 is like hard mode compared to Streets of Rage 2. It's that extra level of difficulty, and I don't know how they fit as many characters on screen as they did. I mean, Streets of Rage 3 is a technical marvel just with how much they were able to put in that game, and it's damn good. Like, I don't care how hard it is. I'd rather play a punishingly hard game that I could learn on how to get better, which I did. As I played that game more and more, I got better and better and better. The only reason why I think we ended up crapping out is because I didn't know which doors to go in that stage 7.
Yeah.
And then the mayor died and all that. And so I kind of have to learn that game over again because I haven't played it since I was a little kid. But
yeah,
damn, is that an addictive, fun game. That is a hardcore beat 'em up if I've ever played one before.
I wouldn't say it was like really difficult though. I mean, I know that was wasn't that like a lot of the gripes that people had? They were saying it's too difficult, and that's why it wasn't as good as the other one.
You got to be on your toes in Streets of Rage 3. That's all I'm saying. You got to be ready to move. You can't. That's not a comfort food game where you can just just sit on your couch and play through it like Mario 3. Like, you have to be on your toes.
Yeah.
Because there's characters coming from all directions at you. You have to be ready. But I'm so impressed with Streets of Rage 3. To me, like, that's because Streets of Rage 2 is kind of easy. When you think about it, it's so easy to get through that game, and I've played it so many times that playing Streets of Rage 3 was such a breath of fresh air. And now, Streets of Rage 4 is going to be coming out.
It is.
So
should be interesting, hopefully.
Yeah. Let's jump into our modern retro moment, otherwise known as our "It's still real to me, damn it" moment.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if you told me this. I think you sent me a message about it, that the Tiger Electronics handhelds are starting to come back now.
Oh, no, I don't.
You did? Okay.
I mean, I should have.
So I saw an article that Hasbro, I think, owns Tiger Electronics, and they're going to start reissuing now all of my buddy Rob, actually, shout out to Rob, I think sent me the article that they're going to start making the Tiger Electronics games again, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's more of a novelty, but there's a couple that I'd probably like to pick up. Double Dragon. What were your favorites?
Oh man. So I had a lot of like the basic ones because they did the tier. They had the
football.
They had the $14.99
baseball
ones, which were just like the generic ones, and then the $19.99
Boxy Boy.
The $19.99 ones were like the licensed games, like
Mortal
Castlevania.
Kombat.
Yeah, they had all the licensed games. So we weren't up to that $20 spot yet. So most of the ones I had, baseball, I had played that all the time.
Mm-hmm. That actually wasn't bad.
No, and then the pinball one's actually really good. It's like blue and it's got the 2 orange buttons.
Like NES pinball.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Oh. Obviously it's just one screen, but it's actually pretty enjoyable for just a Tiger LCD game. And then I remember, it's funny because I don't know, I remember going to my grandfather's one time, and like when I came in, he was like sitting in his recliner.
Was he playing one?
Playing Castlevania on a Tiger LCD, and I still have it.
Do you really?
Yeah, I still have it.
The same one that he was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
like
cool.
It was just, I was like, what are you doing over there? And he's like, because he would go, because he like back then he would go to like tag sales and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what would just, and maybe he just saw it.
Wait. Was he picked it up?
Yeah, I didn't get it. It wasn't mine.
Are you serious?
No, yeah. I just
that's awesome.
And he was just like playing a Castlevania, and I was just like,
that's
what?
A great story.
I was like, what is going on here?
So he bought it for you?
No, he just bought it.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I don't.
Like it was Grandpapa's like Castlevania.
Yeah, it must have been like $1
like
or something.
Like
or
he
50
put it in
cents.
his knapsack and like left at the end of the night
Yeah.
and was like,
His
"Well,
little-
thanks for the dinner, guys. I'm headed home."
Yeah, because he used to go to like we used to go to garage sales back then. But he just bought it, and he got a Game Gear too one time, some other time with Joe Montana's football, and he was like trying to like figure out how to play it.
We're still trying to figure out how to play the Game Gear. That's why they're making all those new LCD screens for it, so people can actually see what they're doing.
There was another one. I think it was just called Caveman, a Tiger one. That
Sure.
was pretty good. But I never had any. I don't think I had any of like the licensed game ones. So, but now I have a few. I still have that Castlevania one.
Nice.
I have a Street Fighter one.
Mm-hmm. Is Street Fighter? Do you like pick a character, or is it?
Honestly, I've never played it.
Oh, all right.
And then I may have a couple other ones. Then you remember those like the Disney ones?
I have
Like
Pocahontas.
those they're like fat with like the
I
big
have
buttons on them.
Pocahontas. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I found that at Savers.
I don't even know what you can compare that to if you weren't around then. I don't know what would be like
Game
the
and
relevant-
Watch, like a Game and Watch. Like if
No,
you guys
but I'm
have-
saying if people had no idea what we were talking about, what would you? I don't. It's. I guess it's like
the
I'm
original,
I'm trying to think.
like the original Game Boy, sort of.
No, but I'm saying to try to compare it to something, I don't think you can compare it to anything that's out right now. I'm trying to if like people don't know what we're talking about and they weren't around then,
A Tamagotchi.
how they would know? For like younger kids, like if I don't know how you could, but those things were like everything.
Just think of a monochrome
Like a
screen. Like if
a
you-
3DS.
no, but think about a game that was made for like the TI-83 calculator. You know, like a calculator game with a dot matrix pixel. You know,
No.
type
I
of
meant
screen.
like how to describe like the popularity of it.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, the popularity.
I don't know. I don't know what to.
I mean, it
compare
wasn't
to.
really something that was. There wasn't a craze. It was just.
Like everybody had them.
Yeah.
Because they were like between $10 and $20 each. It was like the ultimate like birthday gift you would get from like
Right.
an aunt or something, where it was
Yep.
like
It wasn't
they-
a video game. Like
they don't know.
Like
they're not gonna.
$50.
Yeah, they're not gonna get you a $60 video game, but there's something for $20 and it's like a game thing.
Yeah.
He'll like it.
Right. Exactly. We
'Cause I
did.
remember getting those all the time. It was like those are like the stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
We
But
used
those
to-
are perfect stocking stuffers.
And like Radio Shack had a whole bunch of LCD
Yep.
games. Like, oh man, dude, that I remember going to. Did you ever go to Radio Shack in Eastbrook Mall? And it was just like it was just literally like wall to wall LCD.
That's where we got
games
That's where we got our Tandy 1000 computer in like 1991.
and remote control cars. That's like it was like everything in there. Remote control cars and LCD games.
No, I know. I remember we were on a field trip to the Essex steam train. If anybody ever took a field trip on a steam train,
I think we did that.
and my buddy Pat brought. I remember there was a stack of like 10 or 12 of those Tiger Electronics games, and he was like, I mean, how many batteries you'd have to have because every
They
game
only used
took,
two.
Every game took two. Yeah, but then you have to bring a pack of like 24 batteries.
Yeah.
With you, you know, I mean, I guess, but I remember like Pat. Everybody wanted to be Pat's friend at, like at the start of the steam train. Of course, you're on a steam train. You're supposed to be like looking outside and checking things out. Everybody's got a Tiger Electronics game, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that was a fun memory about that. So shout out to Pat Musin on that.
Enough about Tiger, huh?
Enough about Tiger Electronics, but
We could probably end up doing like a whole episode on
that's pretty neat.
Tiger LCD
Yeah.
games.
Just a couple of pickup items. Actually got Trenton. You completed your Final Fight trilogy. Speaking of Final Fight, you got Final Fight 1.
Oh yeah,
Right?
surprisingly I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And
So you were able to complete
got
that
it,
set. Have you played it?
no. I don't play them. Come on.
That's right. You don't play them. So you just collect.
But I have it, you know.
But
I did. Yeah, I got it complete in the box for like $25. I was like, I couldn't.
that's right.
I couldn't even remember if I had it or not. And I was like, well, even if I did, I could just sell the loose
Right.
one, and you know, I was like $25 for a complete copy of a Super Nintendo game.
Right. I mean,
Solid
anytime you can get your hands on any of those like Super Nintendo or 64 boxes, even if you don't have the game, just get it.
Yeah,
Just get it if it's a reasonable price.
Final Fight is the one I definitely like in the box. You know.
Oh yeah, that's a classic title.
Yeah, that cover is perfect.
I completed my Castlevania set, an NES trilogy set. So it's
yes.
behind. I mean, no boxes, but the loose cartridges. So that was
And then you
kind
had
of important.
the ultimate completion.
What was that? Oh, the ultimate. Yeah, I mean, We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in just a second here. Why don't we talk about it right now? So
Fuck it. Throw the script out.
so I just finally completed the last item that I needed for my American Sega Saturn set. So that is.
And what title was that?
NBA Jam Extreme, of course. Of course. And I wanted it to be a really
Stupid game.
I actually wanted the last game I was going to get to be NFL Quarterback Club 96.
You were like plotting it out.
Yeah. And that didn't happen. I found a copy for super cheap. And it came with like the extra insert. So I was like, you never see it with that. So I had to jump on that.
Plans change
for $8. But yeah, Sean Kemp and the Band-Aid cover, NBA Jam
know, right?
Extreme completes my set. And
you got to announce. You got to let people know you're transitioning
you can't just say that. You gotta
into the Sega CD collecting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I gotta say, I was really gung ho for this whole Saturn collecting thing because it is. I can't say that
it's in my heart.
I sometimes will say like Saturn's my favorite system, but the truth of it is that there's a lot of favorites that I have, but it's the one to me that is most like close to me that the Saturn was the underdog. It had so many great games that people didn't know about, and it was like the little system that
you have to do some work to get the games too.
Yeah, there was some work behind it, but it was also a system that just wasn't respected in its time, and I don't think gets enough respect now. And had just some phenomenal games, and so it meant a lot to me when I was growing up. And so I was like, you know what, I want to, if there's a system I can get all the games for, it's got to be this. I could have gone with Dreamcast too, but there's something that
there's something
that's a little bit more sweet about the Saturn because it was so niche. It was like there wasn't a whole lot of copies of games.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, even now when you look, it's really hard to find. There's a surge right now because a lot of these retro stores are shutting down because of coronavirus. So
yeah.
they're putting a lot more stock online. But there's months that go by where you won't find a rare title. And you have to wait and wait and wait. So it was almost like I wanted to prove that I could do it. Than anything. And towards the end of it, I was so apathetic about it. I just became because it was like Brewster's Millions. The movie Brewster's Millions.
Yeah.
It's like that where he had to spend all that money so that he could get the $300 million, and by the end of it, he was like, I remember he's talking to John Candy, I think, and he's like, I am so sick of money. I'm sick of money. Like I hate it. I don't want money. And by the end of it, and I wouldn't say that that's the case. I love the fact that I have a complete set now, and I think it's something that I can look at and be proud of. But I don't know if going forward, if I'd want to necessarily collect for a whole system again. I just feel like
it's gonna happen.
You keep telling me it's gonna happen, but I just kind of want to collect the best games that I'm interested in. The ones that I really am interested in. So I don't know if we can talk about it. Maybe we can work together on a Sega CD set.
We'll get a chart. We'll get a chart going. We'll weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah, we'll do a Ben Franklin.
But I mean, visually, it's a good system to collect for with the Saturn boxes.
The Saturn or the Sega CD?
No, both, because they use like the same kind of style.
I'm
just like visually, like the way it looks. Like
the nice
collect for the
boxes.
The Dreamcast, it just looks like a bunch of CDs.
It does. Yeah.
There's no kind of like appeal to any of them. Really.
Right. There's something special about the Saturn boxes too. That is. I guess maybe I didn't really think of it that way, but it does. It stands out.
I mean, the Dreamcast and it. I mean, it didn't really have like. It
had almost the same number of games as the Saturn did.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the way the games looked. It just like the Saturn you could tell when it's a Saturn game,
that
as
chunky,
opposed the Dreamcast kind of
polygon,
kind of like PS2 in a way. The style of the graphics,
or like a souped up 64 or something.
Yeah, but like you could tell when it's a Saturn game almost. Kind of had its own style.
It did. It was such a unique system. There's still so many games on there that haven't either been ported or, I mean, it's still a hard system to emulate. I mean, even the emulators don't do a complete job.
That's why no one could make 3D games for it back then.
It was a really hard system to. I mean, it had 1,000 chips inside of it, and nobody knew how to program for it. So, yeah. So it's
like, fuck it.
It's a special thing. I'm sure I'm one of probably maybe a handful of people that actually have a complete set. So it's
all the famous YouTubers,
right? I mean, it's something that I can point to and say, look at my thing. But that's not really my style. It's just I did it.
Look at it.
That's the thing is like if you're going to collect something, you should do it because you want to do it, not because you can say, oh my God, I have a complete set. It's just a really important system to me, and so that's why I did it. And that's why I don't feel like going out and trying to collect for a whole nother system is something that is true to me, because I'm just doing it to do it at that point. It's not because I'm in love with that system and I really, really want every game for it. So, and plus you got to pick up a lot of shitty games, and Saturn has its fair share of really shitty games. So,
I mean, when you think about it, every system has
does.
like a majority of shitty games because
Right.
there's so many.
Well, and that's the thing about Saturn is that when you have to buy the higher valued titles, at least almost all of them are really, really good. You know, at least really good.
Except for
Battle Sport.
Battle Sport, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only game where I don't have the case in the manual. I have a loose disc, and I got a repro, but I'm just not going to spend $1,000 on a game. I'm not going to do that. I got to pay my mortgage. Yeah. So I mean, I started with 25 games, and now I've got the 250 or whatever it is.
Oh, he's in there.
So if somebody comes over and says I want to play a Saturday game, I get to say, well, which one in the library do you want?
Which one? Because I got them all.
I got them all.
Motherfucker. And they're like, I want to play Sonic. All right, that's the Sega. So
we got 3D Blast, we've got Sonic R, and we've got...
Do you have Sonic 2?
It's on Sonic Jam. Sonic Jam.
No one's going to know like any
I know.
Sonic games on the Saturn.
I have 2 copies of Sonic 2, a European one and an American one.
Well, isn't that special?
I'm just so happy. Let's get talking about good games again. My God, I got to tell you guys, for the first time, and I hate to say this, for the first time I actually sat down, plugged in, and played Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. And this is what I'm saying. You jump into Turok.
This is what I'm saying.
And it's just fun to begin, just right to begin with. It's just an awesome, straightforward, shoot stuff, move forward. It's got a little bit of off the beaten path.
Fuck shit up.
I mean, do you have a history with Turok?
I mean, I think that was one of the first games I rented from Blockbuster.
You gotta find the keys and get back through the portals, and it's just
hella fog.
Oh,
it was a fun game though.
So good though.
That was like one of the first games I got rented on the 64 from Blockbuster.
I feel like you don't need a guide. It's like just open enough where you're inquisitive about where you should go and what you should do, but you don't need a guide. You can just play that game and go and find some secrets and get through it.
Well, I mean, back then it didn't matter what game it was. They had a guide for it.
Sure. But I'm super impressed with that game. They didn't try to do too much. It was just using the Nintendo 64 to its strengths and just it's just a game where you can just have fun. Just plug it in and have fun.
Yeah.
No
Acclaim too, right?
Yeah. Well, Iguana, Acclaim, yeah.
Yeah. I have the other 2. Haven't played them yet.
They get worse as they go.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah, I mean 2 is
maybe 2 is probably
2 is supposed to be good, but it's not as good as the first, and then 3 is supposed to be bad.
Really? It's like how do you?
Yeah.
It's like how do you make a good game and then the next ones are just bad?
Well, they tried to do a lot with them.
They tried to do something
else.
And
then like the frame rate just dips.
Oh.
That's when I'd like to get a case and manual for. It's
the first one?
Absolutely.
It's probably not that expensive.
It's not too bad. I think it's like $20-$30 maybe.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's like an $8 game or something like that.
Yeah.
The first one.
Well, Liz actually got it for $5 at the Retro World Expo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like a $5 game.
She cut a deal. She cut a sweetheart deal. Let's jump in quickly to our system launch tournament special. As I mentioned before, we saw the Atari 7800 move forward, as well as the Sega Dreamcast versus the Atari Jaguar. I mean, who knew that was going to happen, right?
Who knew?
So the next 2 parts of the bracket, if you're following along,
because we aren't,
is the 3DO versus the Saturn. And then
it's the Panasonic Real 3DO.
And then the Nintendo 64 versus the TurboGrafx 16, because we need 2 systems that have the bit numbers inside of them.
The bits.
Going up against one another.
How many bits, you bitch?
So
what did the 3DO have, like 3 games?
Not even that much, Trenton. So here's the 3DO's launch lineup.
Wait. Shockwave Assault?
Here's the 3DO's launch lineup. Crash and Burn and...
There are no other titles.
Crash and Burn.
And that's what the system did.
The launch was supposed to have Return Fire, Road Rash, FIFA, and Jurassic Park Interactive. If that was the case, that would have been okay. That would have been decent.
Yeah, because
That would have been a decent launch.
well, FIFA was just like the PlayStation one, I think. Road Rash would have been. I mean, that's a solid. I mean, that's just
and that was the first version of
PlayStation.
that version.
Yeah. And what was the other three?
FIFA, Jurassic Park Interactive, and Return Fires.
Oh, that's yeah. But if you want like big name titles, no one's like Return Fire. What the hell's that?
Well, no, you're right, but it kind of like reinvented.
It's supposed to be a really good game.
Yeah,
I know that.
It sort of reinvented a genre. It almost reminds me of like an open world Jackal from NES from Konami.
Jackal.
Where you're in the Jeep and you're going up. It's almost it's almost like a Commando style.
Yeah.
But it
wasn't like that. No, I'm trying to think. Well, was that one on the DS, like Advance Wars or something like that?
Well, those are strategic games, like Military Madness.
Yeah.
But this is more you're in the tank and you're actually going around.
No, yeah, I remember
blasting.
I remember
things.
seeing it in like EGM back in the day.
Yeah, and it's a good game. I have it for the 3DO.
And that so technically
that's
there was actually no games because wasn't Crash and Burn a pack-in title, right?
Oh, geez, I don't.
Yeah, I think it was. You know what's funny? Because
it might have been. I mean, the system was $800.
I just had like YouTube on in the background or something like that, and I was, was just doing other stuff, and someone was talking about the 3DO, and they were talking about Crash and Burn, and I thought it mentioned that that was a pack-in title.
It could be, yeah.
So technically, there was literally no games because there was like you would get a 3DO and you wouldn't have any other game to buy.
I guess, yeah, because that was it. So I mean, it was technically a launch title. It was there at the launch.
Yeah, but you couldn't you got your system and you're gonna buy a game. There are no other games.
Yeah, I mean the redeeming quality of Crash and Burn is like the full motion like introductions of the characters and like just the goofy aspect of how, their characters and what they said. I'm sure they had like just ridiculous dialogue too. It just didn't make any sense or it was just over the top.
This is gonna be a hard fought battle, which had the better launch.
And I played Crash and Burn a little bit, and it's back in 1993. It probably looked very impressive because it was like this fully 3D track, and it's almost got a I wouldn't say Mario Kart, but it's you can use weapons to shoot people, almost like Wipeout style.
Is it racing or is it kind of
racing? And you have
like Twisted Metal kind of?
No, it's around a track.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, but you can get weapons and shoot at people and throw stuff behind you, almost like a Mario Kart or like a Wipeout.
Oh,
so it's like.
Oh wait, am I thinking of Crash and Burn? Is that the one that they put on the Sega CD2, or is that other racing style game? I think we have it. I think you have it actually. I think it might be on the Saturn.
So the game that it reminds me most of is Impact Racing for Sega Saturn.
Oh yeah, that's the one I'm talking.
And Impact Racing is pretty good. I mean, it's not great, but it's fun for for an evening of just mindless gaming. And you can get into it a little bit more. Crash and Burn is a heck of a lot rougher, and it's not great. It's not a great game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it a good game. So you have that, and then on the other side you have the Saturn, which is Virtua Fighter, Daytona USA, Panzer Dragoon, Clockwork Knight, Worldwide Soccer, Pebble Beach Golf Links. I'm not going to even talk about them because we'll save them for another discussion, but I would take Pebble Beach Golf Links over Crash and Burn.
Yeah. Oh, I've never played Crash and Burn, so I can't say for sure.
We can play it after the podcast if you'd like to.
Or we could not.
Or we could not. Or we could watch Tiger King.
Did. Yeah.
So we're gonna say Saturn goes through.
And it's tough. I mean, there's so many games to choose from on both sides. Hey,
like I said, the 3DO would have done a lot better, I think, if it had Return Fire and Road Rash and FIFA.
You mean if it had any games?
Right. Well, but those are some notable titles.
No, I know. They're not they didn't come out.
They didn't. No, exactly.
Well, at launch.
Right. So a more interesting.
How the fuck do you what do you? It's like, what do you? I just don't. These are like
they blew their launch.
These are like
they blew their launch.
These are like
think about that.
$1 billion company, and then they're gonna put out a new system and have no games available for it.
The thing is, what was the rush? Like, what was the rush to get it out? You could have maybe
because they wanted
your production
to beat the PlayStation.
Costs, but this is 1993. The PlayStation didn't come out until September of '95. I mean, you could have taken 6 months and made sure that the games were ready to go.
Did I miss when you said the date of the launch?
Oh, I don't. Nah, I don't have it.
The only thing I would think of is if it came out in like a holiday season. they didn't want to push it back.
I don't think it came out during the holiday season though.
That would be the only reason I would think they.
I don't know why, but I'm just pulling this out of my butt. I feel like it came out in like the spring or something. You know, so it just, and there was no impetus to do it. Maybe they were worried about the Jaguar. we didn't know what it was gonna be.
If we knew that,
we didn't know what it was. Dude, Sega was scared about the Jaguar.
I know. I mean, yeah. If you don't know anything about it, and Atari's just like, yeah, we have a 64-bit
We have a 64-bit system.
We're gonna revolutionize gaming.
Right. Right. I mean, and so it made them like, you know, quiver a little bit. So 3DO was probably like, all right, we got to get the system out, and then. But it's so important to have a launch that is good, because if you're
that's not, you can't even consider that a launch.
It's like a soft launch.
It's
like a soft launch.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So they
like, okay,
they
so
blew it. They totally blew it.
So we were 9 when that came out. Actually, you know what I was gonna say? I was like, do you remember seeing a 3DO anywhere? But honestly, I can't even really remember seeing. I don't even remember seeing like Super Nintendos really. I mean, I just wasn't paying attention or remembering at the time. But like,
but I don't even remember the Saturn launch. I mean, I wasn't in the magazine game at the time. You know, I remember we were all hyped up about 32X. That was the one that we really wanted. You know, back in like '94. You know.
Yeah.
So who knows? But they totally blew it.
Sick launch, bro.
They totally blew it.
Could we say that launched right into the toilet?
it pretty much. I mean, it recovered in terms of its game quality, but it just...
They could have competed.
It could have. If I think they should have waited. It should have come out a little bit later
and been about $200 cheaper.
I mean, gosh, if
$700.
Even if it was, you know,
what's that, like $1,000 today, basically? If you're from inflation, I don't know, something like that.
It's a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, yeah, imagine the PS5 comes out and they're like, it's gonna be $1,000. Everyone would be like, no.
Well, they get more sales than the 3DO did because they're not an upstart, but still, it's like,
no, I know
people don't want to buy consoles for that much.
Yeah.
You know,
we're launching it and it's $1,000, and everyone's just like, no.
You know what? If Sony and Xbox were smart, what they would do. And I say smart, but I'm ready to laugh about it, is when these they just announced, by the way, yesterday that the government is going to be sending everybody $1,200 and then $500 for every child for this coronavirus issue. What they should do is
$1,200.
Huh?
The system's going to be $1,200.
Just like get the system out, like right when the checks come in, because you know all these dumb idiots are going to go and get a system. Yo, mom, I'm going to go get a new PlayStation, you know?
I got my check in.
Yeah, my check came in.
And I can get some games.
Right. So
I mean, it's helping the economy, right?
Putting money back into the economy.
Into the pockets of the rich.
Greasing the wheels.
Greasing those palms.
But I mean, just to brush over, because I don't want to not give Saturn its due, Virtua Fighter, Daytona USA, Panzer Dragoon, Clockwork Knight, Worldwide Soccer, Pebble Beach Golf Links. That is a damn good launch if I've ever seen one.
The games are great, but they're still they're arcade ports. You know,
Panzer Dragoon is not an arcade port.
Dragoon.
Clockwork Knight is not an arcade port. Worldwide Soccer is not an arcade port. Pebble Beach Golf Links is not an arcade port. You have Daytona USA and Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, those are the two big games.
But we talked about the Atari 7800 and we talked about arcade ports. So,
same thing.
I think the fact that the Saturn
had
so many
launch,
issues, it superseded the fact that they had such a solid launch of games.
Kind of covered everything. You got a sports game. You got like a fighting game, racing game.
And in my opinion, one of the best sports games ever made. Like definitely top couple of soccer games I've ever played. Worldwide Soccer is an arcadey, fun. That's soccer game. I mean, what can you say about it? It's you pick it up and play. It kind of is like an arcade game, but at home, you know, and you can do tournaments and stuff like that. But the gameplay is so tight and so fun and so easy to get into that that game gets brushed over, you know, because it's a sports game from 1995.
Soccer.
Exactly. So
soccer.
I mean, I think my two favorite soccer games have got to be Super Soccer on Super Nintendo and Worldwide Soccer on Saturn.
Oh, I would say World Cup Soccer on Nintendo.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Or you keep like kicking them and they just die.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to something a little bit more
It's about time.
Closer. Well, 64 versus TurboGrafx. So
Maron.
Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings 64.
Oof.
Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey didn't make the cut. It was out a couple weeks later.
Same with Cruising, right?
Yeah.
You got to be here to cruise the world.
And TurboGrafx 16 had these titles.
The way you're saying it makes it sound way better.
What?
And the TurboGrafx had these titles.
Keith Courage and Alpha Zones.
Boom.
The Legendary Axe.
Boom.
Victory Run.
Boom.
Alien Crush.
Boom.
China Warrior.
I don't know. Boom.
Power Golf.
Eh.
Vigilante. Blazing Lasers. Dungeon Explorer.
That's too many games. So by default, Nintendo 64 wins. Quality over quantity.
That would be the Nintendo 64's position.
Okay,
I'm
there's only 2 games, but if one of the factors
I'm gonna
influence,
I'm gonna say it right off. I'm gonna say it right off the bat.
I'm gonna tell you what.
I know that you said that the TurboGrafx 16 was your dark horse. However, Nintendo 64 is gonna win this competition
because of the influence
between
of the two games. Well, I know Pilot Wings.
Pilot Wings was a technical marvel when that game came out.
Yeah, I mean,
it showcased Mode 7. It was a very.
Are you talking about the Super Nintendo version?
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Pilot Wings. I'm thinking.
Like
I don't know why I'm thinking about Pilot Wings on the Super Nintendo. But Pilot Wings 64 was a more accessible game. It had a fully 3D area that you could explore. I remember when that game came out and just being equally, maybe not just like Super Mario 64, but wowed at how you could move through that 3D world. And how you could get shot out of a cannon and all the different things that you could do. Like I remember the falling scene where you're jumping out of the plane and skydiving.
You gotta go through the rings.
You have to make the shapes and all that stuff, and just that feeling like these characters were really in the sky and they were really falling. It was a surreal feeling. It was another dimension, another level of. To me, the 64, even though it came out in '96. To me was the dawn of 3D in a way.
Dawn.
It was a new dawn of 3D. It was 3D in a way that really had arrived officially, because everybody had been toying with 3D before that. And you had games like Virtua Fighter or Daytona, games that were 3D but
couldn't really. It wasn't like moving around in the world.
You couldn't freely move in that world. The games before it that tried it were like Bubsy 3D, and it failed terribly. I mean,
like
that game was
Tomb Raider was kind of like the first like big, I guess, kind of.
Yep.
Not, I guess, free roaming in a way. The 3D game.
Right, and that came out around the same time. I think that was a '96 game.
But still wasn't. It wasn't as solid as moving around in Mario.
No, her movements were like, I don't know if they were like tanks, but
it was like the camera movement was like you had to like spin around and then
Mario 64 is the point where I think, and the Nintendo 64 itself was the point where 3D had arrived in a way where it felt right. It felt like it was real. It was something that was gonna.
Oh no!
It was hard to go back at that point, even though we love 2D games now. All you wanted to do was play 64.
No, I'm not arguing. I just I didn't feel the same way about Pilot Wings. Was like the game I remember was like the game.
Well, when it's the game next to Mario 64.
Yeah, it was like the game we just kind of like played for a while when we were after we were done like playing Mario for like hours. It was just like, all right, I need a break and just put this in and kind of just like toy it, because you could just like you had like the jetpack. You could just like kind of like fly around. It was just kind of like doing just kind of like mindless kind of fun.
Right.
I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I understand.
So on the other side, Keith Courage was kind of like a mundane.
That's just a 2D. Any side-scrolling game basically.
Right. Victory Run.
Wasn't that the Pac-In game too?
It was. Yeah. It was. Victory Run was, like this Grand Prix. Not Grand Prix. It was like a road race where you had to go from like
kind of like a rad racer,
city to city, and you had to arrive in a certain amount of time, and you had these hazards on the road, and you could run out of gas, and you could your tires could wear out, and all this other stuff that could happen to effectively if you weren't on a run, if something happened to your vehicle during that run, you might as well just turn off the game and restart, because it's not like you can like get back on track, and it's just like it's a decent, okay-ish racing game, wasn't breaking any barriers, and today is not a game that anybody's going to look at and say changed gaming and is not great in its own right. Alien Crush is a very well regarded pinball game. China Warrior is like Kung Fu.
Is it literally like just the same thing?
Yep, you're going from left to right, but it has giant characters. It's got huge sprites, and that was its claim to fame. Power Golf came out, and its contemporary is Arnold Palmer Golf. Arnold Palmer Tournament Golf on Sega Genesis.
Oh, you're saying it's basically the same game?
It's contemporary. They kind of came out around the same time. Arnold Palmer is usually looked at as the better game.
Yeah, I mean, all those 16-bit golf games they all kind of look the same. I mean,
and at that point they almost played more like 8-bit, and it
was like tap a button, tap it again, and then you swing.
Right, it wasn't PGA Tour yet,
which is still like the best way to play a golf game.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone back and played those games as much, but again, it's a decent game, but not a barn burner. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's no hot shots.
Vigilante is another Kung Fu. It's actually the spiritual sequel to Kung Fu.
Ooh,
it's okay. I mean, I like it. I'm interested in Vigilante because I love Kung Fu, so I actually own the game on Turbo. But again, nothing that's gonna move mountains. Dungeon Explorer was a good game. It was in a
isn't that what they call that genre of games? The Dungeon Explorer games?
Yeah. Well, it kind of looks like Gauntlet, but it's got much more RPG elements in
overhead?
it.
Like
yeah.
overhead?
But it's got much more RPG elements and is actually regarded as a very good game.
It's regarded.
Blazing Lasers is one of the best shooters of all time. So that has to
Blazing Lasers.
And then you've got the Legendary Axe. So, a lot of people say the Legendary Axe is the best game on the TurboGrafx 16. But again, this is a side-scrolling game. It's an action game, slash 'em up sort of game. Really does a lot of things really, really, really well. I just don't know if these games on this, and I love Blazing Lasers. Love that game. That game's fantastic. In fact, I like a lot of these games that are on this list. I just don't know when you look at the criteria of, the quality of the games. I still think when you look at the quality of Super Mario 64.
Which is like one of the greatest games of all times, or considered.
It's my favorite game of all time. So call me, jaded or whatever, or, biased, but it's just and talk about the influence of every game that is in existence as a 3D game today takes influence from Mario 64. Now, I'm not saying that gives the Nintendo 64 a pass at any competition with any other system. I'm just saying, when you compare it to the TurboGrafx 16, now the TurboGrafx 16 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that games, and a lot of them are just okay, and there's some that are excellent and very, very, very good.
There's no system movers in it.
Well, Blazing Lasers probably would be a system mover, but again, there were games on the NES that were doing what Blazing Lasers was doing, maybe not with as flashy a graphics. But it's not Super Mario 64.
No.
So as much as you're
right.
And I think the TurboGrafx would beat a lot of systems on this list. It's just got drawn with the 64. So, I think in the end of the day, that Mario 64 is like the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And unless you have another system it's got to have something that speaks for the future of gaming or influences gaming or is the pinnacle of its genre. You know what I mean? And I don't know if the TurboGrafx is quite there.
Split their fucking heads. Out of here.
Quite? No. Not even close, man.
So
boom, out of here.
So I think the 64 moves on. So the next competition in that bracket is going to be the 64 versus the Genesis.
Ooh.
And then we have the Saturn moving on against the NES. Pretty
Solid.
good. So the new bracket, we have the PlayStation versus the Jaguar. We've got the NES versus the Saturn. We've got the Super Nintendo versus the Atari 7800, and the Genesis versus the 64. That's the round of 8. We are in the round of 8, everybody. Enough of that. Let's get into our main event.
Maron.
We're there. We got there.
He's in there.
All right. So, Paperboy. the classic. It's part of the golden era of the arcades. It came out in either 1984 or 1985. We're not sure.
Was there a couple?
It was definitely designed in 84.
They have one with the handlebar.
Correct.
The handlebar.
Mm-hmm. So one interesting fact about Paperboy, the original character that's on the marquee,
That Muppet looking
and
kid.
that's on the box, was an actual kid.
Nice.
So his dad was a character artist at Atari, and he drew his son Peter. And his son Peter is still around. He's on YouTube, and his channel is called Peter JV. And doesn't really do anything video game related.
Whack. Already not interested.
Right. But his dad drew his son as the main character. So.
Just be going around at conventions signing Paperboy
Sure,
posters.
Exactly. There you go. Do I have it up here?
Yeah. And throwing him out like a Paperboy.
Yeah, this is Peter. Say hello to Peter.
No, we don't. There's no Peter's Peter on here, right?
I would hope not.
That's not in there.
That would be a little weird if
Yeah.
that was the case.
I love it.
Paperboy was primarily created by two guys. The programmer and designer was John Solwitz, and the artist and designer was David Doc Ralston. John Solwitz actually worked on, and one of the reasons why I wanted to pick Paperboy is because there's really nothing like it. I mean, there's no like, oh, you got that Paperboy clone or that other Paperboy game. I mean, there's nothing really like Paperboy. It's a really unique title, and it's funny that they haven't really remade it because I think they
did once. Oof.
We don't talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. I want to talk about Kobe.
Is that when he was in Miami?
Yeah. R.I.P.
Oh man.
to the god.
Yep. But it's a very unique title, and it is a part of that period of time where, you had a lot of single screen games, and it was that period of time where they were just kind of getting out of that, out of the Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong era.
Arcade style.
84, 85 is when you started to see like Kung Fu Master and, games of that ilk that had a scrolling, play field.
Guerrilla War come around then maybe?
I don't know about 84.
Oh.
I think it was a little bit later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 84, 85.
You're right.
Renegade, I think, maybe came out around that time as well. So, it took things in a new direction as the technology sort of opened up a little bit. So John, who's the programmer, he worked on Klax.
Ooh, Klax is a jam, though.
Klax is really good. It's almost like a Tetris precursor in a way, the way you're kind of like it's a puzzle game.
Yeah.
One of your favorites, Haunting, starring Poltergeist.
Ooh, that is a tight one.
One we haven't actually jumped into. We should. One of my favorite baseball games, World Series Baseball 2K2, for the Sega Dreamcast.
2K2. I don't even.
Also came out on the Xbox, huh?
I don't remember playing that one.
Yep. Actually, I played your favorite Alan Andrews the other night. I played as the Oakland Athletics. Johnny Damon hit the first pitch over the wall. hit the last pitch over the wall to win the game.
Oh man.
Johnny Damon. Love you, Johnny Damon. Helped the Yankees get their last championship all the way back in 2009.
Oof. Let's not talk about that.
No, we're not. He worked on Cyberball.
Cyberball. Oh.
I think it's like a football game that has like robots or
Oh wait. No. What's?
Maybe not robots, but
the basketball one.
It's like a football game.
Oh, it's football.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He worked on Rampart.
Yeah. Well, they're all Tengen games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he worked on Super Sprint.
Super Sprint. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He even worked on some of the later Medal of Honor games. So a guy who's got pedigree and actually worked on some of really influential games and games that were from the classic era.
3 generations deep in Tengen.
What's interesting about Super Sprint is that Super Sprint is, I missed that. Super Sprint is really the precursor to Off Road.
Oh, okay. Wait, it played that same.
It's that
overhead.
Exactly.
With the small,
yep.
All right.
Yeah. So that's what Super Sprint is doing, and then you had off. I don't know if it was Trade West or who it was.
Trade West did.
I don't know if they just published it or if they actually made the game, but that was a game that influenced games that came after it. Probably RC Pro-Am as well. Because RC Pro-Am was
Wasn't that Rare Trade West?
yeah.
Or-
No, Rare was
Yeah.
Rare did that, yeah. So that's a really influential game that he worked on, and then Dave worked on Rampart as well. 720 skateboarding. Do you remember 720?
Yeah, I remember.
I remember sucking at it.
Oh,
I tried it a couple of times on NES.
I remember. Oh, I don't know if I played it. I think I have it on Nintendo. But I'm trying to think. I know there was the arcade version. It had like a weird joystick or.
Was it like
it might have been the ball.
Twisty one?
It might have been. I think it was just the ball.
Okay. Yeah. He conceived.
Oh.
Trenton. He
birthed.
He conceived Skitchin.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Man.
Was that a Tengen game?
No, it was EA.
EA. Okay.
Yeah.
So he was
because it was based off Road Rash.
Okay, he must have been working at EA then at the time. Rampart again, and I wrote that twice. I don't know why. Maybe Rampart's just a really important game. If you remember Maximo, for PS2, Maximo was like it was like Ghouls and Ghosts. It was like the reimagining of Ghouls and Ghosts in a 3D environment.
I had never heard
Maximo
of that.
versus the Army of Zin, and then Fight Night Streetwise.
Fight like the boxing game?
Yeah,
Streetwise?
I don't know what that is.
You sure it's not Final Fight Streetwise? Because that's the PS2 game.
Fight Night. Or is it Final Fight Streetwise?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
kept. Yeah.
Okay, then it was Final Fight. I wrote Fight Night Streetwise.
Because Fight Night was a boxing game. Then you said Streetwise. I'm like, they didn't make a boxing game.
There was a game called Final Fight Streetwise.
Yeah.
Then that's what it was. Final Fight Streetwise, which makes sense because he was working at Capcom when he worked on Maximo.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. Final Fight Streetwise.
Okay, there you go. Yep. Final Fight Streetwise. It kind of reminds me of that game that we were playing the other night. The
Urban Reign.
Urban Reign.
Well, yeah. It's. I think it's not supposed to be that good.
Okay.
I still want to try it out eventually.
So the arcade version of Paperboy used this handlebar controller. We'll show a picture of it.
It was literally just it just looked like a bike, like the bike handlebars.
Yep. And it had buttons on the back side for you to be able to throw the newspapers.
And I think you would, maybe I'm just, was it set up like a dirt bike? Like if you turn the thing,
yeah. Actually, no.
The grip?
You could pull the whole thing back or push it forward
to go
to make
forward.
them go faster or slower.
Okay.
But it was constantly scrolling, and they're constantly riding the bike. But you can
speed up.
You can
and
slow their
down,
roll, or exactly.
Slow your roll.
Exactly. The commentator in the game sounds just like if you guys remember Back to the Future 2, when Marty gets home, the computer voice that turns on everything and opens the door. It's like lithium mode on. That's the commentator for
I don't even remember
Paperboy.
Commentary in the game.
Yeah, it's we'll play it here for you guys, but he's like, and I couldn't pick up exactly what the words were because it's kind of muffled, but he's like, you may not like the news, but you have to try the person that delivers it. And it was like a computer style voice.
Oh.
You may not like the news, but you have to admire the person who delivers it. Paperboy.
I did. I'm sure we'll get to it, but those didn't make the console versions.
No.
Yeah, so I don't remember any of the audio in the game.
No, you didn't have that audio.
Except for the dog.
Yeah. And actually, it says it right here. You push the handlebars to accelerate, you pull back to slow down. So that was right.
So that's kind of like an interesting, that's definitely like a big thing that would make it different from any other game that was out. Just that the play, like the handlebar.
Oh, yeah.
What game had a handlebar? I mean, you had steering wheels for the racing games.
Well, you're right, because Hang On, I don't think came out until '85, and that had the full bike with the handlebars.
Yeah. There was there was a lot of different.
So it might be the
styles
first. It
to
might be
play
the first
arcade games back
game.
then.
It might be the first game with a handlebar controller.
Yeah, because then they had a couple dirt bike games that would use it.
Yeah. So the game is centered around the goal of completing a week's worth of newspaper delivery. That's what you have to do, a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
If you do a whole week, you win the game.
I can relate.
You have to avoid obstacles while making sure you deliver the papers to your subscribers, either by landing a paper in the mailbox or
slapping it on the door
on the front step. And at the end of the street, there's an obstacle course. It's like a bonus round, so you don't lose a character or die or mess up your deliveries if you crash in the obstacle course, but you can rack up extra points.
Does it give you unlimited papers on that part, or do you only have a set amount to hit the targets?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you have unlimited amount. It's still the newspapers that you carry over.
Oh.
I believe I could be wrong about that. But there's basically targets set up all throughout this obstacle course, and you're just trying to fling them left and right and all over the place to basically hit these targets. And if you hit one, you get the extra points. And it's kind of satisfying. Like you see the target kind of like push over.
Yeah.
You
knocks over.
Yeah, and there's jumps you can flop over. Or jump.
You get to the end, he's like, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So so that keeps it interesting. And then there's 3 different difficulty levels. So there's an easy street, there's like a middle of the road, and then there's a hard street, which has
just more subscribers, right?
More obstacles.
Oh. Did they not have? Oh, I thought one had like more. We had to deliver more papers than another one.
No. So basically, the way the game works is that if you complete the whole street at one day and get all the subscribers,
don't you get a new one?
You get another subscriber.
Yeah.
And if anybody that you missed actually unsubscribes. And the whole idea is you have to have at least one subscriber by the end of the week to win the game.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, I mean, it was kind of easy to like remember, but like at the beginning of each level, it'd show you the course, and then it would like the houses would blink, I think,
yes.
or which ones, and then you would
Yep.
you'd kind of have to
or they'd be white, and the ones that wouldn't be subscribers would be darker or gray.
So you kind of had to kind of like you visually look at it, you're like, all right, those are the ones that need to hit. Like you kind of
exactly.
I mean, there was kind of tells that you could tell like who was a subscriber.
So this I
and who
didn't
wasn't.
know, and I learned that from doing the research. You actually get points if you throw newspapers at the houses that aren't subscribers.
No, yeah.
As you do damage, you get points for that.
Oh, damage?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you could throw. All right. I feel like you could like throw one on the thing and you'd still get like a point or something like that.
No,
if
you're like breaking windows and stuff, you're getting
Oh.
tons of points.
Yeah.
So let's talk about points for a minute.
Points.
Like that was a thing at that point, like getting points in games. But I feel like in the classic era,
It's arcade games. You want to get that high score. You want to get your initials at the top of the list.
That's what it is. But then they kind of carried that over to like console games, and we were still like point getting in like Super Mario. Who cared about points in Super Mario Brothers?
It only cared in games like
you wanted to get published in Nintendo Power. That's how you would do it. Take a picture of your screen, stand 6 feet away.
I mean, points in Mario was like you want to get 100 coins to get a free life.
Right, that was it.
It didn't even.
But you remember there was like a point
no, I know.
scroll at
But
the
it never kept track of like a high score or something in the game.
Yeah.
The
only thing I can think of in like competition in that respect was when we played games later on, like in Daytona USA or F-Zero, where the whole idea was you want to get a better track time than your buddy. And like if he would have the better track time, then you would be like, okay, I gotta see if I can get a better track time, And that would be kind of the back and forth that you'd have, almost like the getting the highest point total. We kind of carried that forward, but after a while, people were like, I don't care about the points. It's about winning the game.
I don't remember, but it didn't give you like an extra live in Paperboy if you got a certain amount of points. No,
I don't think so. Not that I found or that I saw in the research.
Yeah, so.
I think it was a set number of
It's not
lives.
like they're going to get rid of points if they already had it in the arcade game,
No, I know. Yeah, so Easy Street, Middle of the Road, and Hard Way. Those are the 3 different courses you can take.
Hard Way. The Hard Way.
And after every day, you would see like there'd be a newspaper that would flash up on the screen.
Yeah, the headline of the day.
Yeah, it would tell you like the day of the week, and then the news stories would be like,
Paperboy saves you.
Local Paperboy stops thieves. Mysterious vandalism baffles police. And basically it would just kind of give clues about like what you did the day before.
Yeah.
All of the it's funny, all the text in the newspapers, like, so there's like the titles of the articles.
Squiggles.
No, it says blah 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 blah
does
blah
it?
blah. Yeah, it's like that's funny that they actually did that. It's exactly what you would say, in a newspaper article. Speaking of the game itself, like I always found, I don't know about you, but like I always found that the difficulty of Paperboy to be like insane from the beginning. Like I was always like on edge about crashing.
Yeah, because that was like you could go off the curb and you'd just like fall over,
and it would fall over, and you'd be like, shit,
Yeah, it's like I'm on a bike. I can go goddamn curb.
Yeah, it was like a few inches.
Or like if there was like I don't know, like the sand or like a rock or something like.
Yeah.
And then sometimes sometimes you'd be like just pedaling and just going, and then you gotta like slow down in an instant, and you're like, you're trying to slow down and like lean to the left and right to try to make you go even slower, just so you could try and throw the paper and like hit the door.
Shit, I missed it.
Yeah.
Shit, I went too far.
Because you could pick up like extra papers too.
Yeah, you
on
could.
some parts. Yeah.
Well, you'd have to because you wouldn't want to run out.
Yeah, you just be like, if you're just like throwing them out.
And you can use the newspapers to stop any obstacles that are coming at you, like if there's a dog coming at you, or like a runaway lawnmower or something like that. You know.
Yeah. Or the guy's like working on his car and you throw it and then like the car falls on him.
Yeah, like the roof, like the hood goes down and like traps him, and he's like, ah. Very very quickly you notice the challenge with the isometric viewpoint and throwing the newspapers, because it's like the isometric view makes it hard to kind of
you gotta. I mean,
especially if you're farther away from the house. Like if you're in the road, if you ever like get off of the sidewalk, you can't get back onto the sidewalk until you find
like
the
the driveway
dip,
or like
the little dip, so
the end of the sidewalk.
You can get back, and a lot of times there's an obstacle
which I mean,
and then there's cars coming in the streets.
Kind of stupid, because I mean, you're on a bike, you can just hop over a curb.
Right.
But I mean, I get it. It's got to have some kind of difficulty. But it does.
I just said it here. You can't hop the sidewalk.
Yeah, even though you're on a bike. What was I saying? Oh, I'm saying because it does kind of if you just never played Paperboy and like you're just going like that first time like throwing papers, you're like, what the hell? Like, because you gotta figure out the speed and then like the angle at which you're going.
Right.
Like if you gotta pedal slow, pedal fast. Unless you're just like throwing it right into the mailbox,
and then all the while you got to worry about all the shit that you're gonna encounter.
Dogs, kids
it's not
running,
just,
and
it's not just making sure you can throw the newspaper in the mailbox. It's everything else. I mean, there's cats and dogs running everywhere. There's kids on big wheels. There's cars backing up. There's
doesn't it like it like backs up really fast and then goes back in?
Yeah,
it's like a carnival game.
There's a little kid running around, runaway lawnmowers. And
you know how those lawnmowers go. You know that you turn them on, they woo.
And the best part, there's some guy fucking break dancing.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
just doing twirls, even though he looks like he's trying to suck himself off. Like he just looks like
what's that 2-frame animation where it's like and like you throw.
He literally looks like he's like trying to like gargle on himself. The way he's literally upside down. He's in between his legs.
I understand.
Spinning around.
And then you throw a paper at him, it just stops, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, God, I totally forgot about that guy.
There's a monster reaching out from the storm drain for some reason. And then there's two guys beating the fucking ever-loving shit out of each other.
Oh, is
They're
it
having
like
a fist fight.
It's like a cloud, or are they
They're
just
standing
punching?
on the side, just fucking smashing each other, and you can stop them by throwing.
Of course,
a newspaper.
that's what helps stop fist fights. Just throw a paper.
And they're in broad daylight.
Hey, it's a rough neighborhood. Some of the houses are fucking huge, though.
What if I just kick the ever-loving shit out of you? Then do I get the money? It all makes for a hard time, right?
Just like the big boss man said.
Yeah.
Serving hard times.
He would circle that nightstick, man.
Yeah.
He would just fling that thing
like
around. He was
like
so
a
good.
baton.
Big Bubba.
Yeah,
But
Big Bubba Rogers.
it's the kind of game that, even though it's really difficult, you kind of want to keep jumping back in and see if you can beat your last.
It's one of those where you're like, all right,
progress.
You're like, now I have it figured out.
Right.
Now I
It's
memorized.
addictive.
I memorized like all the spots. Now I can throw the paper, knock this guy out, hit this one, dodge this, go that. Kind of get used to it.
Right. I mean,
honestly, in a way, it's like a reimagined version of Frogger, in a way. Because you got like you're trying to dodge all this other things, and you're trying to get to the end. I mean, it's kind of.
It's another play on that type of a mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got you. With a little wrinkle thrown in with the with the papers, but I think that personally, I think the graphics are really well depicted. I know that you're kind of pulled out a little bit, and you're seeing everything from a far away view, but like the houses almost look polygonal. The way that they're because the isometric view forced the designers to have to kind of make everything look three-dimensional in a way.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that they did a really good job creating the houses. Like the NES version is 3 colors, so it's really not great, but just like the arcade version especially, I thought they did a pretty good job. You know,
So is the
putting
game? Is it literally just a week and then that's it?
But it's a week, yeah. But you can do the 3 different courses. So you can do Easy Street, middle of the way.
So it's like Easy Street. Is it 5 days or 7 days?
7 days.
So it's just like
you have to get to Sunday, I think.
so.
And
It's just
and Sunday. I think you
super paper.
You move slower because it's got like the Sunday edition. It's like the
so it's
fatter.
heavier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it really?
I think I've never got to. So that's the thing. I've never actually beaten a week in any Paperboy.
So there's
game.
really only 3 like levels, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's, it's like you said, like you're talking about Frogger, it's like it's part obstacle avoidance, part resource management, right? Because you got to make sure you don't lose, get rid of all your papers. Part point collecting, so it really makes a dynamic experience playing this game because there's a lot of things that you're kind of looking out for or doing at the same time, which makes it unique. It gives it its own special flair. I mean, there's nothing really like Paperboy. So, that's just kind of its thing. It's kind of like the way that the thing that always like tickled me
Ooh.
when I would play the game
Pause.
is it's just like it's a way to kind of act out like your deepest kind of dirtiest desires about
Whoa. Are we talking about Paperboy?
about let me finish about being a kid who you remember like you always had that asshole neighbor or that fucking douchebag that lived across the way that you were just like I wish I could just throw a rock right through his window, or like that
kind
old
of neighbors you
or like that old man who like wanted you to stay off his grass all the time and like
Get off my porch,
Yeah.
white trash.
I don't know.
No,
feel-
I understand the stereotype.
yeah, you can have like that jerk neighbor, right?
Yeah.
And so like it was a way to kind of act that out in a way, and
Throw a paper through their window.
throw a paper through their window.
You don't subscribe? I throw a paper through your window.
But like, and then I wrote this down, like the feeling of like throwing the newspaper through like the unsubscribers' windows. Like, yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna fucking chuck these things. I'm gonna break all your windows. It's like the same thing that makes you want to jump into like a mosh pit and like just start throwing fists around.
No, I got you. Let out some aggression.
Yeah, I mean, you could act out in the game without consequence, right? I mean, it wasn't like you were gonna get in trouble for doing that. It was a video game, It was like mental masturbation.
Man, Paperboy, huh? Who knew it could be that deep? We're just throwing papers.
So deep, Trenton.
Ooh.
So deep.
You gotta fit that thing in the box.
You gotta stuff that thing in there.
All right, now we're going to the sexual erotic fantasies of a Paperboy fantasy.
Well, I gotta tell a story that it's kind of unrelated, but it's kind of related. I don't know why I'm telling this story, but it's not.
We go.
It's not a perfect analog, but the idea of like destroying something beautiful that has its own romantic aspects in like a twisted way. So, my parents own a bakery, a Italian bakery, and
they salute the flag every morning.
we do. We salute the Italian flag every day. But I can remember we had just opened the bakery maybe a couple of years before. This is probably 1991, 92, around there. Probably around the time that Paperboy was coming out on
it all ties
the modern
together.
platforms of the day. And my brother was so crazy. My brother Sebi was so nuts. Him and I can't remember if it was our cousin.
Bro, did you get the scones or what?
Scones. We didn't have scones at the time. And so the bakery is on a major route in our town, which kind of leads to the main city, which is Hartford. So there's a lot of fast moving cars that are on that road. It's called Route 6, or it's Route 6.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of fast moving cars on that road. And they got the really bright idea of taking rocks about this big and throwing them into the street as cars were driving by.
Oh yeah, I did that. Well, not big rocks.
No, these are rocks that are about the size of a golf ball.
Oh no, we didn't do that.
Yeah, so they decided it'd be fun to throw rocks into the. And this is from the bakery, which is based.
Oh, your brother did?
Sebi, yes. So he probably had to throw it about 150 feet to get it into the road. So it was a pretty good distance away. And I don't know what was in his head doing that. But here you go. There was a car that had these people had just.
It could go no other way.
So next door to the
door
to the bakery is a car dealership. It's a Ford dealership.
Columbia Ford.
And there was a family that had just bought a brand new
Explorer,
Ford Taurus,
F-150. Oh, Ford Taurus. That was the upper echelon.
That was the higher end one.
Yeah.
Nice. And they had just pulled a right out of the Ford dealership to head
hook a right
to head back home in their brand new Ford Taurus.
Hey, once it's off the lot.
My brother hucks a rock.
It was like perfect timing. It
into
was
the
like,
road.
But did
They're
he see
driving
it?
by?
He saw the car coming, or was he just randomly throwing rocks? You think,
No, he was crazy at the time. I think that he was really trying, just.
No, I understand. He was trying to hit.
Getting the thrill out of throwing rocks into the road.
No, I know. Was he looking and seeing like a car coming down the road, and he was like trying to time it to hit the car, or you think he was just grabbing rocks and like just throwing them?
I think it was let's just throw rocks and have fun, and I don't think he.
It was just
realized,
him though. It was just him.
No, it was him and I think my cousin.
Oh, your cousin was working there?
No, they were just there. He was just there.
Oh,
just visiting.
Oh, I thought it was like he was just like come out the back door. Throw some pies in the oven, throw some rocks, go back in.
No, so I mean, around that time, my brother was probably 12, 13.
Hey, that's the time. If you're going to throw rocks, that's the time.
Right? I mean, that's when you get it in your head that you're going to do that.
I did it.
Yeah. So it goes right through the passenger window, smashes the passenger window.
Was there someone? Oh, there was a family, so obviously like.
There was a kid.
In the passenger.
It was a dad and two sons. And one of the sons was in the passenger front seat, and it like traumatized him. The kid, I remember the look of horror on this kid's face. The car screeched, like just screeched.
Wait, so why were you there?
Because we didn't have a babysitter, and it was. I can remember it was like getting dark, so it was probably like 6 o'clock.
You were just like kneading the dough.
It was so 1990. Let's say it was 92. I was
6. 8
years old, so it was I don't know if maybe I had like a soccer practice and I had just come from that or whatever. So anyways, we were there, and I heard the smash, I heard the screech,
and it wasn't Stone Cold's theme music.
No,
right?
it wasn't. And this guy pulled in and was just like a bat out of hell, just unloading on the both of them, on my cousin and Sebi, and just the look of horror on everybody's face. And my father coming out, and he had the apron on.
Hey, what are you fucking doing out here? You fuck.
Yeah. This guy goes, "It's a brand new car. We just pulled it off the lot. He's throwing rocks in the street." I was like, "This is awesome." I was
Did
like,
your dad just slap the shit out of everyone and you two just for being there?
No. My brother Sebi was in deep.
Just everyone's getting
like
slapped just for being there.
Just the deepest shit ever. My dad had to pay for this guy's window.
Obviously,
he all of the repair. It was, I don't know how much it was for him to do that, but like I remember my brother was on the shit list for like a long time after that.
I mean, hey, it's pretty rough.
But like we wouldn't have the story, like if that wasn't the case, Like, what kind of crazy kid throws rocks onto a main like highway?
I mean, we did.
You're lucky you got away with it without
yeah. We I don't know if ours was any worse. You would take like the little like rocks and stuff, like the little ones, and if you're Mansfield Ave, like if you were going down Mansfield Ave at the bottom where like Megan's house is,
yeah.
If you kept going
towards
like
Mansfield?
over that bridge that goes over
Yep.
we would just kind of like drop them over like the bridge. So they would.
Oh, that happened to me. That happened to me heading to Walmart one night.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's kind of what we did.
My windshield got smashed.
But it wasn't at night. Yours that was at night, right? That's like even worse.
Oh, it was terrible. I had to have my wife come and pick me up because my registration was expired.
But we didn't. We did it. We literally did it one time because like some lady like pulled over her car. She's like, "What are you kids doing? Throwing rocks over there?" And that was like the last time we did it.
Jeez.
It wasn't like we're just doing it like every week. We did it like one time. For
Well,
like
this
10
was one
minutes.
time. It wasn't like my brother, was doing this every day.
Yeah.
But Man, good aim, huh? Just connecting right in the windshield.
Solid arm.
Good thing it wasn't the good thing it wasn't like the body, because that would have been probably worse. If you
body.
if you like
Oh, if
if you like dented the the door or something like that. you
No,
know?
well, I mean, I know the window's definitely worse because you smash a window,
No,
it
no,
goes
no,
into
no, no.
someone.
No,
it
I know,
goes-
but nobody was hurt. I'm just saying, like in terms of like cost. If you ripped like the paint off of like this car.
yeah, I guess you
know?
have to replace the whole door
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah. Anyways, so that was
That's Paperboy.
yeah. So that was.
I mean, I was a Paperboy.
I'm getting to that.
Get to it.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about reviews of this game. The Genesis version is supposed to be the best version of Paperboy when it comes to faithful ports. There's a Nintendo version as well. It's,
So I have the Super Nintendo version. That's the one
right,
I remember playing. But it's
and that's the one I have history with as well.
Paperboy 2.
Paperboy 2. I don't have a whole lot of history with the original.
So what is?
But it is a classic of the golden age of arcade games.
Is the Genesis Paperboy, or is that Paperboy 2? But just only Paperboy on the Genesis.
So Genesis has both Paperboy and Paperboy 2.
Oh, they do.
Yep. But I own the Paperboy 1 on Genesis, and I think you have Paperboy 2 on Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So Paperboy. Jesus, so confusing. So Paperboy didn't come out on Super Nintendo. That was a Nintendo, and then only Paperboy 2 is on Super Nintendo.
Right.
Okay. And it's
Right.
not by Tengen, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it compares to the Genesis. I'm sure it's slower. I'm just gonna take a while. I guess.
Paperboy 2?
Yeah, on the Super Nintendo. I'm sure it runs
So
slower.
Paperboy
I remember. I mean,
Paperboy 2 was made by Mindscape
yeah,
on Super Nintendo, whereas Tengen made the Genesis version.
yeah.
So the Genesis version is regarded as better
Yeah.
than the Super Nintendo.
I'm sure it is.
Because the
Big surprise, huh?
Well, the Paperboy 2 on Super Nintendo is basically just an upscaled NES port.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember. I mean, from back in the day, I remember enjoying
Yeah.
it, but who knows how it holds up?
So, as you mentioned it a couple of times, that our friends probably found out by now that not only you have experience playing the game, but you were living the dream as well, because you. It's a true statement that you were a paper bitch, paper boy.
Oh, the paper slut.
What was it like being a paper boy?
Oh, it was so much fun. I mean, that was like I remember trying to like become a paper boy, the Chronicle. I don't even remember how you I think you just like
Called up
and you're like,
up
hey,
and said, "I want to become a
hey,
paper boy."
yeah, I want to be I want to be a paper boy, and it's like it's kind of like it's weird because it's like a job where there's one person that can do it, and it's not like you can go other places because you're like, wait, I mean, when did I start? I was like,
Do you have a
Fifth grade.
a route that you had to do where you?
yeah, I think I started in fourth or fifth grade or something like that. So I was like 9 or 10. So it's like a job where it's like you just put your name in and hopefully like someone quits because it's like you can only do the route that's like includes your house. So it's like if they have someone, then it's like
that's already doing that route.
like where you gonna
true.
ride your bike 2 miles away and go
exactly.
like you're 9, you can't really.
Right.
So yeah, you have like a certain sort of route. I don't remember. I think it was like the owner of it when they started. He like brought me in his car and like just drove me around.
Where your
showed
route
me
was going to be?
Showed me the route, and it's pretty much you had the little fruity bag,
The knapsack.
little like it had.
I
like
remember that. It had the orange strap. Right?
Yeah, it had to be fluorescent so
Yeah.
the cars can see you.
How many newspapers would you carry at a time?
I think mine was like 40, something like that. Some close
and
to
that's
that.
all
Maybe
you.
50.
That's all you needed to
Yeah.
carry with you and bring.
Yeah, it was like 50 something. Because I kind of broke it up into like 2 parts. The route I had was it was like starts from my house, goes around, and then I would come back to my house, and that would be like 30 papers. And then I'd go, if my house is here, I'd go to the right, come around in a circle, come back to my house, and then go to the left, the other side of the street, and then go down this other street and then come back. So I kind of like broke it up into 2 parts. It'd be like, if you just went all the way through, it'd be like a half hour.
Well, that's
roughly.
not bad.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like you're working for, you're 9, 10, you're making.
How do you get paid? How do you get paid for that?
You
It's like underage work.
Yeah, I don't know how that. I don't know how they consider.
I'm sure there's certain things like that are exempt from like the child,
Yeah, because it's like
abuse laws or whatever.
like at the end of I don't know if no one's ever did a paper, how it works is you'd get your papers like every week, you deliver them, and then Friday would be where you collect the money from the people. Or sometimes this was like
Collect the money.
this was almost like before this was like before this was before the internet was around.
Yeah.
So it was like either you'd go in, they'd get a cheaper rate than, like, it would say the papers were like 50 cents. So, and ours was Monday through Saturday. So it'd be, if you went and bought them at the store or whatever, it'd be $3. And then if you got the delivery, it's $2 for the whole week. So you'd get out of school
$2
for the whole week.
For the whole week.
Yeah. So you'd save like $1, and then you don't have to go anywhere and get them.
True.
You'd have someone just deliver them to your house. So it's like you get out of school around like 2:30, come back home and start delivering papers, and then you'd be done in like a half hour. But I mean, I guess for the only way you really make money on that is if the customers tip you. So in a way, you basically, at the end of the week, you have to pay for the papers. It's like,
who has to pay for the papers?
like you do. In a way, you collect the money from everyone, and like everything above like the $2 is what you keep.
Okay.
So
the houses would have to pay every week. There wasn't like they just sent in a payment for the year.
Some people paid, like they would pay they'd have like whatever, because this was before the internet, so you couldn't like, you'd have to call
Send
over the
in
phone or
form?
send in a check. Because you couldn't just go online and give them your card. I think you could go give your card over the phone back then.
Probably.
But yeah, it was either that or they back then everyone was using checks, so they'd probably just send in a personal check.
My wife sends checks to all of our creditors now.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, they would. I think some of them would pay like a month in advance, or they just pay for the whole month or whatever. They send in a check or whatever. So if you had 40 houses, you had to, and I don't know, whatever. So it was $2. You had to give the paper company $80, and you'd keep the rest. Mm-hmm. Which it would come out.
Did you have any people that gave you decent
tips? They'd give you like 50 cents or $1 extra on top of this. Sometimes they just like, because most people weren't, you deliver the paper around like 3:00. Most people are working. So they just like leave it in the mailbox in an envelope. You just take it.
Was it after school?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd end up with like, average, you'd get like $20-$25 a week.
That's not bad.
Yeah. For like,
it's
basically.
Did the Chronicle pay you as well?
No. So maybe that's how there's like a way of working, because they're technically not paying you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So you're like doing it for free.
Yeah.
Because you want to.
Well, I mean, you're getting, I don't know how, like, you're getting money, but the Chronicle's not.
Because of the tips.
Yeah, and I think they might. There's like a certain amount where they can, maybe you're not paying for the full amount, like. When you're paying the Chronicle, whatever, you got to give them $60. Maybe they cut it under a little bit so you can at least get something guaranteed.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then,
I got you.
You'd usually end up with like $20-$25 a week for 2.5 hours of work total.
That's $100 a month.
Yeah, the only thing that sucked was Saturday morning. You'd have to get up at like 7 and deliver the papers.
Okay, so people have their Saturday morning.
Yeah, because they want it early in the morning.
Yeah.
Because after it'd be like, if you didn't get your paper to people by like 9 in the morning on Saturday, they'd start calling the Chronicle. I'm like, where's my paper? Because it was only like
grandma coming out in her moo-moo.
Yeah,
looking for it.
But that's how it was. So, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. I mean, that's literally how I paid for all my wrestling figures and all my games back then. Was like whatever I made on my paper.
Pretty cool though. I mean, it teaches you a discipline. It gets you to value what you're doing and saving some money.
Oh yeah,
put in hard work.
I'd after a while I know like which customers would be tipping me, so I could figure out. So I'd like write it down in my little notebook. Like, all right, so I'm gonna get this much from this person, and I know how much I'd have at the end of the week, so I could go to KB and buy some wrestling figures.
You would already like pick something out.
Yeah.
You knew.
And there was one lady that would pay like a whole month in advance. So like once a month, I'd be like, all right, so I'm basically getting like $30 from this one house,
damn.
So I'd be like,
she really did you well.
Well, no, she would just pay like whatever 10 weeks, So I'd get like if one person just gonna pay you all at once, it's kind of like getting like $30 for free because you don't really notice $2 every week. But if you get $30, I'm gonna be like, oh,
I got you.
Shit.
Yeah. So
you know how many wrestling figures I'm gonna buy with this? So like that one time, like every few months, you'd get like, oh, nice. This is like $30 right now.
It's a big one.
I'm gonna get like $60 this week.
It's the whale.
Yeah.
Nice.
The only real work you ever had to do is if it was raining.
How would you do that?
They'd leave like the papers on
with
your lawn
with the sleeve.
No, they like in a bundle with like a zip tie. They just leave the papers in your front yard. So if it was raining, they'd put them in like a big plastic bag, and then you'd have to. If it was raining when you were delivering, you have to put them all in plastic bags.
Sleeves.
And deliver them.
Yeah.
But
you'd also be getting wet, right? I mean, how would you?
Yeah.
You'd just be soaked.
I mean, you got to deliver them.
Yeah,
sometimes my mom was home, she'd drive me. But I mean, usually I just have my little Walkman on with my cassettes.
Yeah, you just roll with it, right?
Yeah. So the only other thing that sucked is if like the people weren't home, I'd sometimes I'd have to go back out on like Sunday nights, like around like 5 or 6, and like go to their houses and try to get the money from them.
Oh, if they didn't,
because people are working
during
the day, so if they don't leave it out in an envelope, like you got to go back.
You literally got to go back and get it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Sometimes it work out though, because sometimes people would skip a few weeks and you'd forget to go get it. So then when you go get it, you're like $10. You're like, nice, I got $10 right now.
There you go.
And then, dude, if you win the best,
so it kind of taught you a little bit about money management and all that stuff too at the same time.
I mean, money management just to spend it on wrestling.
Well, yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
you could budget yourself in terms of what you wanted to get, and then you knew that hard work was going to pay off in whatever you wanted.
Yeah, you would cake on Christmas. You think a mailman gets like tips, but like when you're like a 10-year-old delivering papers, they're like, oh, he's a nice kid.
Give him a few bucks.
So yeah, I'd give him like little Christmas cards or whatever like the week before.
Nice.
And then so like you get like a couple $100 like after you can make like $200-$300.
You buy a whole system with that.
I know, I was like caked out.
Did you ever buy games?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I did with like that money like all at once. But I mean, that's literally how I would pay for
all your hobbies,
all my games, figures, and CDs.
Yeah, nice, good. I mean, it taught you how to, you worked hard because
I literally had that
the money, and
I think I had that until
all the stuff you wanted.
Until like, I think you just got something on eBay.
Watched item ends in 14 minutes. Sega Saturn console and 4 games. Lot.
Yeah, that's what you need.
I'm still watching Saturn lots, even though I have.
Yeah, just to see what it goes for.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, it was definitely worth it to I don't know, like, I'm sure like kids don't want to. They probably have no drive to be a paperboy now.
No, they just want to play Minecraft. and
Minecraft.
What's the other one? I
mean, Fortnite.
Fortnite. Jesus.
But I mean, yeah, it was pretty straight. It wasn't like hard. You could just bust it out, and like if you were going really fast, you had something to do after school. You could bang it out. And like, I mean, I did that pretty much until they could drive. So I could get like an actual job.
So you did it for like 6 years.
Yeah, probably until I think like a sophomore, because then I got a job at McDonald's. Basically until I was 16. I had it until I was 6 because I remember I had to put in like my notice, like, oh, I got like an actual job now, so I'm not gonna be doing the paper route.
Yeah.
Good times. The Chronicle with Tubi.
Tubi, that was the mascot.
Yeah, and it's like 3 of my other friends had. I remember Johnny Zabori had one for a while. Nick Desatel, I think he had one. I know. I remember like if we were going on vacation, then I had to get someone to cover my route.
For you?
Yeah, and I just give him like $20 or whatever.
Nice.
Whatever I would make,
Yep. Sweet, dude.
Tight, huh?
Yeah, I mean, those are the stories I want to hear. Just very briefly, we'll just talk about Paperboy 2.
It's about we gotta.
That was a great story.
Wrap it up.
That was a great story. But Paperboy 2, essentially the difference with Paperboy 2, it was a direct to console. You go on both sides of the street. So you start the first way going up to the left.
We're getting hit from both ends.
Yeah, and you go to the right. You cross the street, and you can play.
Go from left to right.
Check it out.
From left to right.
You can play as a boy or a girl.
Mad progressive.
A boy or a girl at this time.
It was like when Pac-Man went to Miss Pac-Man.
Oh man, Miss Pac-Man's a better game. I'll say it.
Don't give a fuck.
Memories, Trenton. There's not really a whole lot to say about Paperboy 2. It's decent, but Paperboy is the one that, people always...
Well, yeah. I mean, Paperboy 2 is the one I played on Super Nintendo.
2 is the one that I played, though. And so, I played... Again, this is another Alex Easton joint. So, Alex was the Super...
Who?
He was the Super Nintendo kid. So, going over his house, that's where we'd play, like, Ken Griffey Jr., we played American Gladiators over at his house.
Oof.
We enjoyed it.
No, I know.
We enjoyed it.
I get you.
Brett Hull hockey.
Oh, yeah.
He was big in the sports
95?
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty good game. At least I remember it being good.
It's Accolade.
And
right?
then, Accolade was hit or miss. And Paperboy 2. I just remember having just a ton of fun playing Paperboy 2. It was just, again, pick up and play. The fact that you could go on both sides of the street, the target course. It played really well. I felt like the controls were really responsive, in that game. And that was, those were just the games in the rotation that we used to have being at Alex's house when I would go over there. It's just, we would throw in Paperboy. We'd throw in, Major League Baseball starring Ken Griffey Jr. We'd throw in Brett Hull hockey. And it was just, so whenever I think of Paperboy 2, I think of Ken Griffey in those games. And, just that time of being at Alex's house and all those memories. He had a bunch of foster siblings because his mom was a foster mom. So we were, spending time with some of them and just that the whole thing there was completely different. So it was it was fun times at the Easton residence, or should I say the Carpenter residence, with Alex and his and his peeps, and they had dachshunds. They had little dachshunds. Little dogs. Yeah, those are fun to play with.
Sick.
Yeah. Ricky was always really cool. His mom, she used to take us all over the place. We used to go to like Six Flags.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really ball out.
She would take us everywhere. She was great. I miss Ricky. And then we come back and play some Paperboy. So
top the day off.
That was always like a fun thing whenever. Like you had like a sports thing or something like that, or you went somewhere and then
that's what it was all about.
When you got home, you like settle in,
play some game.
You settle in, you play some video games. You're over at your buddy's house, so you're playing games that maybe you haven't seen before or haven't played a lot of. And
I hear you.
So that was like the second part, right? It was like you had your first part, you're gonna ride some roller coasters, and then you're gonna go to your buddy's house, and then you're gonna experience all these new games that you haven't played before. So it's like a second thrill of that was like of the night.
We were talking about the Killer Instinct when I would go to Jesse. That's the one that's the one I remember the most because we played soccer. We were I don't know if we were on the same team, but we were pretty much like everyone had games at the same time. So it was like I just remember we'd have soccer games and I'd like end up going back to his house and we just literally just not even change, just go downstairs and start playing like Killer Instinct or whatever Nintendo or Sega game.
But you'd also have like you'd either be making popcorn or you'd have like a pizza.
Oh yeah.
And like his mom would like rent a couple movies from like the local video store, so you'd have like some new. It was just like you looked forward to it because there was so many new experiences.
It's weird. I don't remember renting movies that much as a kid.
Oh, we did.
It was pretty much just all video games.
Oh,
I don't remember renting movies like as much as I do video games.
Howard the Duck.
No.
We rented Howard the Duck. It was a big failure.
Jeez.
Even back then.
You might be the only person that rented it.
Yeah. We didn't know. It was like a anthropomorphic, stuffed duck.
Yeah, I don't remember renting movies until like a little bit, probably around like when the 64 came out. And we would rent Mallrats, Half Baked, like stuff like South Park movie. I remember when that's another story.
This is a great movie.
When the South Park movie came out, we were like, oh shit, rode our bikes to Blockbuster, got it, brought it back.
Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Yeah, like those are the ones I remember, like renting. Not when we got older, we could actually just go to the store and rent them ourselves.
I remember when you got a little bit older and you could actually go to the store and rent movies, and you and your buddies would go and find like a movie where there was a girl that took her top off and showed her tits, but it wasn't considered like a porn.
Yeah. Well, it was like every comedy back then was like some girl was taking her tits out.
Yeah.
Just to make it funny.
But like we want to see we want to see boob.
Yeah.
So you'd rent that,
Titters.
even if it was like a terrible titty talk. Even if it was like a terrible movie, just because a girl took her top off, you'd want to see it, And so you'd rent that movie and you'd go back and play some 64 and watch some boob action.
I just remember. You remember when Wild Things came out?
Oh my god, absolutely!
Jesus Christ.
I went to Blockbuster with my brother
Holy
Sebi, and
shit.
we brought that back and watched it in his room. And I was like,
This is basically like a softcore porn.
I was like, was it Denise Richards?
Yeah.
She was
And,
she was smoking, dude.
Nev Campbell.
Nev Campbell, smoking, man.
98. Denise Richards.
I didn't know,
Oof.
but I didn't know what that like. I didn't know that like two girls could be together. Like that wasn't in my brain that could happen.
Kevin Bacon, baby.
And you see these two girls making out like forcefully, like in this pool, and I was just like,
Oh, but
this is happening.
Even in like the beginning scene where they're having like the threesome in the hotel room. Tits out.
we were too young to watch that, man. But we did.
Man, what a time, huh? Good times.
I wonder. Like, I don't know. There was just so much more freedom back then. To be able to have those experiences. It's like, how you gonna?
Well, you have the freedom now, but it's just not a big deal really anymore, because you literally, kids can just go on look up anything. Back then, it was you only could get it
right
if you went and saw the movie or you rented it.
Or like you went over your buddy's house and like his dad like either had the Spice Channel or
Or the black box,
or it was the squiggly lines.
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
there was,
all
like,
day
there was like the Spice Channel and like
scrambled all day.
Sometimes it would like it would like straighten out a little bit, and you saw you just heard oh
Yeah.
oh, and then sometimes you'd see like
You see
a boob.
like a face.
You see like you're like, oh, I saw it was there.
I mean, you know how that's you think that's pathetic. That's how I watched like every wrestling pay-per-view back then. I just listened to it.
Who won?
Yeah, it would come in, you would just hear the commentary. So it was like I would
How did you get pay-per-view? How did you get even the audio on the pay-per-view?
it would just like whatever back then, you would just turn on
It was all green. Remember, it was like it was green, green and like red kind of swirled together.
This is how pathetic I was. We had like a small 13-inch TV, and so the only way it would come in is if you hit the channel return button where it'd go to the last channel you did.
That's perfect.
And you for some
Game
reason
the system.
you'd have to hit it a couple times for it to come in, and then it would
It would, like-
and
it
then
would,
the
like,
audio
click.
and then the audio would just come in, and it would just be scrambled, but like the audio would come in perfect.
Your mom didn't care?
No, she probably thought I was the biggest fucking loser. I'm literally sitting on the couch. I'm literally sitting on the couch downstairs. I'm literally sitting on the couch downstairs watching a scrambled 13-inch TV with all you hear is just
smacking it.
all you hear is audio. I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm just like sitting there watching it like there's actually something happening.
Like looking at the screen.
Yeah. Oh,
like a
man.
ham radio.
I do remember one time I watched when I had my own TV in my room. We had a cable box. For some reason, like the pay-per-view, for some reason it just came in, and I was like, I'm never shutting off my TV. It wasn't perfect, but it was like 80% of the screen. You could see it.
You got it.
Yeah,
you got the action. So, anyways, Paperboy.
Who would have thought?
You never know where the conversation's gonna go, but. With that, I mean, just to sum it up, Paperboy is a classic game. I'm sure there's ways to play it on modern systems that they've got.
There's got to be
emulated versions of it. Check if you've never played Paperboy before. It's a fun romp. I mean, it's something. Even if you only played it once or twice, I think you're gonna get your money's worth out of it. It can't be more than a few bucks.
Yeah, just get it on the Wii Shop.
Yeah, R.I.P. the Wii Shop.
I mean, it's got to be on it should be if it's not on the Xbox Live or on the PS4 network. Yeah,
probably the arcade version, I would think. If you can find it. So, I recommend it to check it out. I mean, like I said, it can't be more than $10. I think it's worth that. It's one of those things where you can kind of go back and forth, especially if you got like a buddy that you're hanging out with, and you can kind of go back and forth with it, and see who can get the better.
Yeah, because it's
better weeks.
It's two-player. It's two-player, but it's just like it's alternating turns.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fun. It's just fun to see all the different obstacles that you have and how to avoid them, and and it's a satisfying game when you do get through. When you get through and you get to that obstacle course, and you can work up to working towards a whole week. So it's a fun game
Work up to working.
to work up to working. And so with that, anything else, Trenton, or can we seal up this 14th episode?
Seal me up for good.
All right. Well, with that, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back very soon with another episode. But with that, stay safe, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it turbo.
In the mouth. But 6 feet apart.
What'd you say? In the mouth? What?